Okay, I don't want to wind up having me rant and rave for like a half hour straight and no one pays attention to the damn video. So let me jump right into this right now. Say it right twice. Someone asked a question the other day, do carbs get stored as fat? And look, if I get a little angry here today, I'm not jumping down the client's throat. I'm not jumping down the viewer's throat. The reason why these questions come up is because it's usually related to some zealot lunatic's food preference religion. And they use these kind of questions as back doors to shove their belief system down your throat, because what worked for them must work for you, or what profits them must work for you. My favorite are the sugar addiction cult people. That's going to be the video next one. I can't wait to dig into that one. I'm addicted to sugar crowd. Why is that light shining? Oh, it's the light here. Let me move this back just a little bit, eating up valuable minutes. All right, for seconds. So let's get this. Do carbohydrates, excess carbohydrates, get stored as fat? And once we get past the food preference religion, once we get past the sugar addiction cult people, the answer is pretty much no. Excess carbs do not get stored as fat. Your body has so many systems in place to burn carbohydrates and store amount of them. You would literally, okay, let me give you an example here. You literally, and I don't get money from the Smuckers people, right? You literally would have to eat one entire jar of this. I mean, pop the top off and chug this son of a bitch every day for like 5 or 6 days in a row, on top of the food you already eat and don't burn off, in order to start storing carbohydrates as fat. Just look at this. An entire damn jar of Smuckers jelly. Just pop and chug it. Right? That's what you'd have to do. So practically, the answer is no. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. I could possibly fly to Australia tomorrow. I possibly could find Olivia Newton John. She could possibly date me and dress up like she did in the last 10 minutes of Grease. That is possible. Is it going to happen? Hell no, or I'd be in Australia right now. So let's get out of here with, oh, but it's possible. Yeah, and you're annoying. Right? So no, it's not practically possible that you are going to store excess carbohydrates as fat. And here is why. It's this inconvenient thing. It's called an oxidative priority. So next time some low-carb zealot tries to shove this down your throat, just tell them to go suck your oxidative priority. What oxidative priority means is the body will prefer to burn carbohydrates as fuel. First off, because, and they'll point this out to you, the body does have a limited ability to store carbohydrates. Think of it kind of like a 16-gallon gas tank. Yeah, it's big, but there's only so much fuel you can put in it. Think about fat storage like the truck that brings the gas to the gas station to fill up the gas tanks at the gas station. Is there a practical limit to it? Yes. Is there a limit to it? Excuse me, yes. Is it practical? No. So what the body knows is, look, if I get an excess buildup of anything in the system, it's going to upset the natural balance. So I want to prioritize getting that out of the system, especially if it fills up and overloads the system faster. Because what's a gas tank, right? If you pump too much gas in a gas tank, what happens? The gas shoots back out. Now you got spewed toxic, flammable fluids all over you. The body doesn't want that. It doesn't want spewed fluids all over the place. So it prefers to burn carbohydrates because while you can store a lot of them, you can't store them to almost an unlimited degree like you can store fats. So that's number one, oxidative priority. Number two, it is much easier to store carbs as muscle sugar in the liver and the muscles. It's much easier to burn carbs as carbs. And it's much easier to store fat as fat than it is to store carbs as fat. Again, ask anyone who doesn't want to get off the couch and they'll tell you the body is built for efficiency. It does not want to do things it doesn't have to do because through a great deal of our history, there's no such thing as supermarkets. Your body is built to be efficient. So why it would go out of its way to do something that's more difficult to get you makes absolutely no sense. Can it happen? Yes. Is it practical? Go back to my Olivia Newton John example, right? Just because something's possible doesn't mean it's within the realm of this reality. Third thing is your brain prefers to use carbohydrates as fuel. Now I know the annoying low-carb people be like, yeah, but I'm fat adapted. Yeah, we know. We know because you never shut up about being fat adapted. And then we're the ones subjected to that stench coming out from behind your teeth because you got ketones spewing all over the place as you shove your damn low-carb religion down our throat, right? I don't care if you're fat adapted. I don't care if you have ketones all over the place. The reality is the brain still prefers to use carbohydrates. So there's another thing that's part of that oxidative priority the body has to burn carbohydrates first. Also, there's certain body systems like your central nervous system which almost solely rely on carbohydrates for fuel, right? If you're trying to, in the back of the day, run away from a lion, or in the modern day, not get run over by a car, your body's not going to say, all right, let me break down this complex fat cell to give your body the energy to mobilize the muscles to get out of the way of being somebody's dinner. It's just not going to happen. So even your central nervous system, the biggest fuel burners of your body, prefer to use carbohydrates. So all of these lead to this idea of an oxidative priority. The idea that you're simply going to store carbohydrates as fat has too many redundancies behind it to make that practically possible. So what really happens? What really happens is very few people get fat off a diet strictly of soda and Swedish fish. Very few people get fat off just specifically sugar and carbohydrates. Oftentimes, how carbs make you fat is what happens is you eat anything, and I can pound on this over and over and over again. There's no money in telling you this, by the way. Anything in excess, you're going to store fat. How it works is, again, because most people don't store fat by eating diets, again, of Swedish fish and soda. So what they do is they eat soda with pepperoni pizza, or they have soda with a cheeseburger and french fries, or they eat things like ice cream, Snickers bars, donuts, things that are combinations of carbs and fat. You goddamn sugar addiction cult people. They're mixtures of carbohydrates and fat. So what happens is, because the body has this oxidative priority, it'll burn the carbs first. And then what happens is, while the body's busy burning the carbs, the fat cells kind of do a little end around, like a football play, right? They kind of go end around. So while the body is preoccupied by burning the carbohydrates, the fat cells get stored. The fat gets stored as fat. So it's not that carbs make you fat, it's that they give your body something else to do instead of burning the fat that you're going to go store. And again, none of this happens, by the way, if you're in a calorie deficit, right? I'm not saying there's not benefits to low-carb diets for certain people. What I'm saying is, it's not pure carbohydrates that's making most people overweight. It's foods that are mixtures of carbs and fat, and the fat is stored because of the carbohydrate, but it's not a direct cause of it. I want to repeat that again. You are not getting overweight because you're in a calorie deficit of carbohydrates. You're in a caloric excess of foods that are a mix of carbohydrates and fat. And so because your body has that priority to burn the carbs first, the fat almost automatically gets stored. So in the end, it really comes down to just not eating excess of food. Why does this happen? Why are we spending so much time answering questions like this instead of getting down to the bottom line that people have food preferences? That the key is, whether in the short term or the long term, you have to be in a calorie deficit. Now, I understand people can go through some pretty extreme methods in the short term to lose a bunch of weight and then come up with a different plan to maintain long term. That's friggin' awesome. Right? I applaud that. That's fantastic. The problem is that people are really annoying. I'm annoying. You're annoying. We're all annoying in our own way. But what you have that makes some people super annoying is they just feel this need to shove whatever they believe or whatever earns them money down your throat. If you have a problem where you're literally eating one or more of these entire jars of jelly every day above and beyond your energy needs, the last thing you need to do is take advice from a guy like me. The last thing you need to do is be asking and answering questions like this. The last thing you need to be doing be doing is taking nutritional advice from some guy you went to high school with who now sells a multi-level marketing nutrition program, or some guy you went to college with, or a woman you went to, or I don't care who they are. I don't care what they identify. Binary, non-binary, it doesn't matter. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. If you're in this kind of situation, you got one foot taken off because you got type 2 diabetes, the other foot's coming off, and you're still shoving the jar of Smuckers in your face every day, you are so far above and beyond somebody like my scope of practice or your favorite profiteers who has a financial interest in you listening to them's scope of practice. If I ever start lecturing people in that situation on stuff like this, I promise you can take me out back and take a baseball bat that says scope of practice written on it and beat me to death with it. Beat me to death. I'm talking about Pesci at the end of Casino death, throwing him in that pit while he's still alive. Right? If that's the situation you're in, this isn't your priority. You need to get all, I'm not being funny here, you need to get serious medical help. If you're in a situation where you're turning massive amounts of carbs stored into fat, you need medical professionals. You need to start talking about pharmaceutical interventions. You need to start talking about psychological and psychiatric interventions, surgical interventions. You've got a serious problem that requires serious educated people to take care of it. Not some dude who wears shorts for a living, or some person who decides that they figured out the next great diet that's going to solve everything, and by the way, get them to buy a speedboat on the side. I have no idea where I just went with this rant. I got a little angry at the end, whatever. It's 12 minutes, that's not bad. So just in summation, do carbs in the body, excess carbs in the body get stored as fat? The answer is practically no. It would require, I already gave the example, a very extreme situation for an extended period of time, which goes so far beyond getting nutritional advice off a YouTube page that it's totally irrelevant. The body has an oxidative priority to burn carbohydrates first, so it does that. How you're getting overweight is most likely you're eating a lot in excess. The key word, regardless of what comes out of my mouth next, is an excess. You're eating an excess typically of mixed foods of both carbohydrates and fat, and now all of a sudden that oxidative priority is starting to work against you. Your body's going to the carbs first and the fats are getting stored. Either way, get yourself in a damn calorie deficit, figure it out. I've already given you the numbers. We'll keep expanding on different ideas and thoughts on how to get you in a calorie deficit. But questions like this are not helping anything. I've already said this before. Usually when you're dealing with stuff like this, it's someone trying to shove their annoyances and their food preferences down your throat. It's not going to do you any good. Now I'm rambling. I'm going to get off the video. Thank you very much. Bottom line is, no, carbohydrates are not being stored as fat, and they are not making you fat. That's it. Good night.